Thinking back, probably as early as, I don't know, probably early teens, something like that. We had a good friend of our family who was a dentist and ended up being our dentist. And I used to babysit for his kids. And I think possibly that had some influence. Later on, I think when I got through high school, I had to decide on something. So I got to thinking about the things that I liked. And I liked people, enjoyed them. I liked working with my hands. I didn't know if I had any skill at that or not, but I thought that possibly dentistry would fit into that category. So I always planned on being a solo practitioner. And I liked the idea of quote unquote being my own boss, where I could at least make my own hours. And
well, I had a daughter, and I was a single parent, and I wanted to have the flexibility of coming and going as I pleased without having to answer to an employer, which is only fair to them as well. And so opening my own business, in my idea, was going to be giving me a little bit more freedom, when in actuality it kind of took up a little bit more time, but it's been a good decision, and it's helped me be able to have that freedom that I wanted initially, but it's taken a while to kind of work to that point.
I was motivated to start my own business mostly by necessity. I was in need of work and going to school, studying information systems and accounting, and working in a dental business that needed some network administration work done as well as accounting. So it was kind of a natural progression for me to start working in this area.
Well, again, back to that same point, I was thinking that I'd have more freedom, but some of the hard things were that I didn't have that freedom, and I did need to be more hands-on than I expected to be, and it created a lot more time involved in, the books and getting products and getting things together for myself, rather than depending on somebody else. If you're working for someone, they take care of those things, or they have hired somebody that will do that for you.
I was a sole proprietorship, so in that regard, you're working alone, and the challenges that presents are you're always the one that's responsible for your business, and that means you have to be there when the business requires you to be there. The other issue that sole proprietorship type of business creates is it's tough to take vacations where you can get away, and it's also difficult to afford or generate enough revenue for benefits like medical insurance and retirement benefits that you have when you're working for a larger business or partnership with more partners or employees.
I kind of like the idea of the military because you went in as an officer, you got paid well, you got good experience, and you had a little bit of a reprieve between dental school and actually starting up a practice. My first and only station with the Army was at Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. I'd never heard of it. Being an isolated post, they had all the different specialties in dentistry. You made extra money because you were a professional dentist. And then I got a little more because I had some reserve time with the Marines. And all told, it enabled us to actually pay back all of our school debts and start out with a clean slate when we started our practice. And I say we because it's definitely a family affair. I chose to go back to Spokane. A lot of my colleagues, my fellow graduates from the dental school, elected to go to Seattle because of the big city atmosphere and everything, but I love Spokane, and you have to make that choice. Where in the world are you going to practice? And could have gone anywhere in the country.
All right, well, Spokane is a fairly good-sized market, and I was focused on providing services to dental practices, network administration and accounting systems work. The dental businesses in Spokane tend to be single doctor practices, so they're smaller. And as a result of that, I found that a lot of these dental offices didn't have a need for dedicated network administration work. So in that regard, it limited my growth opportunities.
Well, it's kind of a double-sided coin there because in some respects it's shaped my business and I've been able to grow because it is a small community and there's a lot of word of mouth and people talk about where they get their hair done, and so you grow that way. But at the same time, being in as a hairdresser, Spokane's more of a conservative environment, and so you don't have the freedoms of being able to do all the things you want to do with hair that you would want to do, or makeup, or any of those lines of fashion, or any of those things because of where you live.
I think the location of Spokane wasn't so much the factor in the growth of my business as it was the particular marketplace that I was targeting. So I needed to actually figure out a way to provide more value to this market or choose a different market than dental practices for my business to grow.
I think one thing is I would have had more competition, so you have to look at that too. It's like I may have had more freedom to do some of the things that I would want to do, a little bit more avant-garde work, but I wouldn't be able to maybe grow as fast as I was able to because it is a larger area you're drawing from, and there's more hair salons all around that you have to compete with. So, yeah.
Near the end of operating this small business, I discussed some of these problems with some business consultants at Eastern Washington University, and one of the professors there just basically told me that particular marketplace, being dentists and doctors, is a very difficult market to break into because your customer's highly educated, and frequently they have the expertise to provide the service that you're providing. So it's difficult to convince them that you're providing a service that has a great deal of value that they will pay for.
I think some of the highlights of being in Spokane is that close community, which is, like I said before, there's a double-sided coin there because there's the close community, but then it sometimes is, again, the word of mouth can be negative as well as positive, and so there's two sides to that.
I've been retired about 10 years now, and I'm loving that part of it. I enjoyed my years of practice tremendously because I got to see whole families grow up in my practice. The lady that was the first patient to walk into my practice there on Division and Central was still in the practice when I retired. And got to see her kids grow up and her grandkids. And they were part of the practice. And that's probably what I miss more than anything is the folks, the working with people and working with staff and that type of thing. So that's my story. Thank you.